Starting to make some
Alright, all you
games.
amazing viewers, today we're going to jump into another development video and we're going to make another game. And if you did join us last week, you know that I'm kind of interested in making a space game. I want to make some sort of space shooting game similar to Asteroids or something along those lines. So this is an example of something similar that I want to try to shoot for today. I just found this video online, but this is kind of a replica of the old Asteroids game. Alright, let's get started and make our space game. Step number one, I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Space Game. You can give it whatever name you want. For simplicity's sake, let's just call it Space Game for today. Inside this folder, I'm going to open it up. And there's nothing inside of here. I'm going to create another folder, and it's going to be called Images. Okay. And we're going to store all of our photos for our game within that file, at least, or within that folder, for now at least. If things get a little complex later, maybe we'll switch it up, but for now, we're going to keep things simple. The next step is I need some sort of way to write code, because our game is going to require a bunch of code, and we're going to have to store that code into some sort of file and then save that file somewhere. So we need some sort of editor like Word or WordPerfect or Notepad or some sort of way to write code. A very common and popular one that I use anyways is Notepad++. So if we go to Chrome, we just search Notepad++. You click on the first link here, click on the Downloads tab, and then right here is your two versions. This is the newest version. You can click on that to download it. I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to open my file. It looks like this when it's open. It shows, as you can see, like it shows some colored code or color context in terms of organizing your code and stuff. So it helps you not only see things a little easier, it also helps you know when to indent. It helps you with punctuation. It helps you with formatting. So definitely a useful tool to have a nice editor. So this is what it looks like when you first boot it up. It's just blank. And we're going to create a brand new file. So when we go into this file, we can click on the language tab at the top here and we can change the type of language that we're going to be using. So today we're going to be running most of our code in HTML. So I'm going to save this as, so if we go to our desktop, we find our newest folder, which is Space Game. I'm going to save this in as our index file. So most people just call it an index file, but really what it's going to do is it's going to launch our game. That's going to be our game file to launch our rest of our game. So we're going to call it index.html. It's very important that it saves as .html. So to verify this, if you go back into your space folder and you look, you'll see it should populate this image as your internet browser by default. And over here it says the extension type is an HTML type. Okay, you can also right click on this and check properties and it'll say the type of file here as well, which is .html. Okay. So we now have this HTML file stored in our thing. It does nothing though. But when we do run our game, that's the file we're going to just double click on this file and it's going to test all of our game content. So currently if you launch our HTML file, this is the file that gets launched. And it doesn't really do anything for us. It's not really exciting. However, this is going to be where our game is going to be populated. And I was looking at different options, different ways to approach a space shooting game. I think one way to approach this would be to use a canvas element in JavaScript. So I'm just going to explain kind of what it is, but it's simply you have your screen as so say this entire paint area is my screen. Well, we can now add a canvas element to that screen. And within that canvas element, we can draw objects. So I can take a sun, I can take a tree. This is an amazing tree. So, right? We have some, sorry, that tree's terrible. There we go. We have some sun, we have some tree, we have some sort of, ground, but we're going to draw it in regards to our canvas element. And then our canvas element we're going to position within our screen. So you can actually have other elements if you want outside of it. You can have a UI, you could have, an action bar, you could have different things, but our canvas element is going to comprise of our things that we're going to draw or animate. We're going to approach this with JavaScript and we're going to approach it with the canvas element. We need to create our canvas element. Now I'm not going to create it myself. I'm going to get somebody else to create it for me, and that's ChatGPT. So let me show you how this works. If you guys haven't been to this site, it's chat.openai.com. I'll put it on the screen right now for you. It's just a internet chat program where you simply ask it questions, it returns you output, and it's pretty good at it. It can return anything from solving math problems to giving you directions somewhere to solving a complex, chemistry problem. It's very intricate, and it's also not perfect, but it's very useful in terms of what we need it for today. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little pointer. When we're creating our canvas element, we need to know the size of it. We need to create a size ratio. Most screens now are actually a wide screen, so their ratios are typically a lot wider. But for an old arcadey feel, I want to do kind of a 4:3 ratio. So I was thinking a good screen size for our canvas element would be 1024 by 768 to give it kind of an old arcadey feel to the game. So hello. I want to make a video game. I want it coded with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. I will teach you a little bit about JavaScript today, but we're not going to get too in depth with this stuff. It's just going to be copying, pasting code, and seeing some output. So don't get too scared with these words I'm throwing around, but know what words I am using here. So hello, I want to make a video game. I want it coded with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. I want to populate the game within a canvas element. I want the canvas centered on the screen and at a size of pixels. This is very important. I want the JavaScript code to follow a modular design and class system to keep all major game elements aspects separated. Return me the code for this setup and set the background of the canvas to black. Alright, so now it's going to output some code. So there's some key things I want to highlight here that I did mention. So one thing we did we said please return the canvas screen size set to this 1024 by 768 pixels, and that is in pixels. Okay, very important to get it returned to that. We also asked it to return it centered. So we want the canvas centered on our screen. Otherwise it's going to be probably off to the left or to the right, and we don't want that. We want it perfectly in the center. What else is important here? So we also said we want to follow a modular design and a class system. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look here, it's now going to put everything into different sections. So we have our player class being created. We have our game class being created. So anything to do with our game, we can now put inside of our game class, and anything to do with our player, we can separate and put inside our player class. It's easier to organize, it's easier to read, and it's actually a proper way to structure it in terms of design, so I highly suggest doing that. It helps a lot. So we're going to copy this. This is our HTML file. So we're going to copy this one first. We're going to need both of these files, and I'll show you how to do this. So step one is to paste this inside of our index and simply save it. Okay. Step two is we're going to need to create another. So it's saved. I'm going to create another file. And this is where we're going to store our other content of our game, or our other document, which is our JavaScript file. And it wants us to save this file as game.js. It's very important to read this naming convention and understand that this is what it wants it to call, because it is referencing that specific name here in the script link. So what the script link says is, I want to reference this JavaScript file externally, and it should be named this. If it's not named that, it won't know where it is, it won't be able to find it, and it has no slash in front of it, which means it's going to resort to the current directory of the game file. What I mean by that is it is going to look within the game folder and it's going to look for game.js, and if it can't find it, it's not going to return anything. So we need to make sure that game.js is the name of our JavaScript file. So if I look here, I can now copy all of this JavaScript file. I can paste it within this new document. And now I need, if you notice, there's no color convention, there's no structural help at all. It's just all black and all in the same context. So we need to change that. So let's change our language here at the top to JavaScript. So if we look over JavaScript right here, and now you can see all the colors being changed. Now it isn't finished because we haven't saved our file yet. We have to save this as. Now I just want to show you I am going into the space game folder, and it wanted us to save it as game.js. Because we changed the language here at the top to JavaScript, it's going to automatically try to save it as this type, JavaScript file, which is correct. If you look at the top now, it's saved as game.js. If you didn't or aren't using Notepad++, you can still simply create a new file as so. Okay. You can open this file, you can save this file as, and I can save this as a .js and change this to all files, and it will do the exact same thing. Let me show you this. We go into our space game folder and I save this file, and I now look inside the folder. There's 2 JavaScript files. Okay, but I'm going to delete that one because we don't need it. So now if I run this game, we now have a canvas element. Our whole thing is black, and you can see the canvas is outlined, and that's good. That's what we want to see. We want to see the size of the canvas. All right, so I hopped over to one of my favorite sites to get graphics from. It's an AI-generated graphics site. It's powered by DALL-E 3. So if you guys know what DALL-E 3 is, it's part of OpenAI. But what I did here was you describe some sort of image that you want, and it just outputs it with AI. It gives you an AI-generated image. So I asked for a pixel sky for a space game with a few stars, mostly plain black background. I want to get like a background for a space game. I think that'd be kind of cool. So I saw this one looked pretty neat. I think these stars up here were kind of unique and awesome. So let's download this one here, and I'm just going to open it in Paint. So we're going to go right to Paint here. We're going to open up our most recent download, which is this, and I'm going to crop this sky as so. Shoot. I don't want to get that one in there, but we might have a moon in there, but that is what it is. So anyways, we're going to grab this stuff like this. Okay, and I'm going to crop it. Pretty awesome, pretty awesome. I actually want to flip that because I like the moon at the top. I think it looks I think it'll look better. So we're going to flip this vertically as so. That looks much better. And I'm going to save this. Actually, I think my light source is on. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for now. So we're going to save this as file, save as PNG, and we're going to save it as stars. I'm just going to put it on the desktop for now because I am going to do more with this stars. Okay. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is go to another site called remove.bg. And this site just allows you to use AI to remove backgrounds from images. So I'm going to go to my desktop, date modified stars. I'm going to grab this image, and it should remove the background, and it did remove the moon even. And this is okay. This is kind of what I'm looking for. Believe it or not, this is what I'm looking for. So you guys are going to be wondering, what the heck is he doing with this crap? Well, I'm hoping that these turn out to be my stars. We're going to see what this looks like, though. So as you can see, that's what it's going to look like. Doesn't look the greatest as of yet, but it might look really nice once we work with it. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a minute. So I'm going to take this. We're going to rename this to stars, or stars, and it's a PNG. And we're going to take this and we're going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it right inside our images as so. Alright guys, so we have this stars image now, which is saved inside of our games folder, inside of our image folder. I do want to note that I did touch it up just slightly. I took away the plus star symbol. It just looked not good. If I was going to repeat it, I thought it would look kind of odd. These are kind of more generic, and I also cleaned up around the edges a little bit just to remove anything that was right on the edges, just because I don't like repeating images that have stuff right on the edges. I think it looks kind of, you can notice the edge of it. It just looks odd. So everything's kind of in the center, and it's kind of random, and it is repeatable. Okay, so I do want to note that. So there's definitely multiple ways to approach how we do the stars aspect of this. Now, in our example, I didn't change the size of the image, but if you were to just make the initial star image the same size as your canvas element, you actually wouldn't need to repeat it at all. It wouldn't need to be repeatable. You could just make it the exact size of your canvas, and you wouldn't need to repeat it along the x or the y-axis. So that's one way to do it, and that's totally fine to do it that way. But we didn't resize our image. We had no idea what size our image is, so in terms of our example, we need to tell it to repeat it along the x and the y-axis to fill the entire canvas with the stars. As well, I want to fix up the black because it was kind of over the entire screen, and I want it just within the canvas itself. So let's fix those two things. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to fix the background. Currently, the entire background of the screen and the canvas element are all black, but we just want the black for the canvas element. So let's fix that. As well, I'm going to reference the location that we stored our image is /stars.png. So images/stars.png is the location. I need to tell it where to find that file, so I reference that image, including the folder that it's in. So images/stars.png is the location of the image. I need to point it at that direction in order for it to find that file. So once I've told it where that file is, the final step that I need to do is tell it I want it to repeat this image fully along the x and the y axis of our canvas element. Okay, so now we should, when we run this file, if everything's working, as you can see, we now have some stars. I went back to Bing.com because I need to find us a spaceship now. We have our stars, we have our sky, we need a spaceship. So I asked it I needed a space game for a two-dimensional game, or a two-dimensional space game. I need a tile sheet of multiple images of different objects. A tile sheet is the key phrase that you need to reference here. You need to know what a tile sheet is. It's just a bunch of tiles of different objects, aka a bunch of squares of objects. It's the best way to describe it. So if I click on this one, for example, I can see, there's a lot of different spaceships here. So let's grab this one. I'm going to go over to our lovely little paint site. It's my favorite site ever to use, or my favorite application. And I'm going to open this up in here. I'm going to find one that's vertical. It's just a little easier to work with. I'm going to crop it as close to the edge as I possibly can. So probably about there. Yeah, right about there. Crop that. Okay. And then we're going to save this as a PNG. I also want to resize it. So spaceship. Okay, I do want to resize this. Pixels, I just want to know the size it's actually going to be, and I think it's pretty close to 120 by 120. Let's make it squared. Okay, and we're going to save this image once again, so it saves its new size. We're going to come back to our lovely little remove.bg site. I'm going to come here and take the spaceship here and remove its background, and there's our lovely little spaceship. It looks pretty awesome, actually, not gonna lie. I'm kind of excited for that. That looks so cool, guys. So we're going to grab this file location, we're going to take it, we're going to cut it, we're going to put inside of our space game folder next to our stars. We're going to call it ship. Okay. I'm going to come back here and say, okay, now I want to add an image for the character's spaceship. Can we use the images/ship.png and display it at a size of 120 pixels by 120 pixels. Actually, I'm going to make it 100 pixels because it just seems a little bit easier to deal with. 100 pixels by 100 pixels in size. Display it in the center of the screen. Alright guys, let's see what happens. So we've told it its location, we've saved the file there, we've referenced it to size, and we've given it kind of direction what to do, where to go. Now it's giving us sections of the player object. So I'm going to say, can you return me the entire JavaScript file, all the code. So if this ever does it, if it gives you part of the code, sometimes it's not in your best interest, you know, to figure out where the stuff is. It could be a pain in the butt. Just simply ask it to output the entire file, and it will. And it's easy and convenient that way in the sense that you can just simply click this copy button, go over to our Notepad++, Control A selects all, Control V pastes, and Control S saves. Then we're just going to run this file and see what happens. And we now have our spaceship in the middle of our screen. It's starting to look like a space game, guys. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I want to add some movement controls to the ship. And this is, you can go many different ways with this one. So it's up to your discretion. One thing I would suggest is to keep in mind that this will completely determine the way you design the game going forward. So if you're going to do a still ship, as in you're not going to move that ship, and it's not going to be moving around, you know, you're going to have things coming in constantly, and it might be a wave-oriented thing with a scoring system. That's cool. It's totally up to you. If you want to do a level exploration thing, that's totally up to you as well. I don't really know which direction we're going to go in. I think I want to do a little bit of both. I want to do kind of a scoring-oriented thing, but I want a little bit of motion. So I want to add some sort of mobility. So I was thinking spacebar is going to give the ship some motion. So I said add mobility to the player's ship when the player holds the spacebar key. Now the other thing I said is anytime the player moves the cursor in the canvas, make the ship face that cursor's direction. Mind you that the ship is the top point of the ship is the front of the ship. Now I was very clear in when I stated that. It returned it, and it kind of worked. But I noticed one thing that was going to be a problem is it kind of slowed down over time. So one thing I want to be sure is when you're running in any sort of animation, what it actually does is it creates an image, and then creates another image, and then creates another image, and then creates another image. As it creates the new image, it erases the previous one. Now the reason why that's important is if you're creating a bunch of images and you don't clean them up properly, this can cause something called memory leaks, and this can drastically slow down your game's performance. So it's very important to address these problems during your design, and with ChatGPT you can just tell it, you know, make sure you address these problems. One of those problems is optimization in terms of performance, and one of those problems is memory leaks. So I said the ship should always face the cursor's direction, as in the top of the ship's image is facing towards the cursor if the cursor is on the canvas. Okay, so if we're putting this on the canvas, make sure the ship changes the direction towards that cursor. Make sure to make it run optimal and have no memory leaks. And it gave me some code. So the direction of the ship, when I ran this the first time, the direction of the ship was like 45 degrees to the right. So I just said make sure that it's facing the proper direction, and then I just returned this file right afterwards. So let's just copy and paste that bad boy in here. See what happens. And run our game. So as you can see, if we move it off the canvas, it's still moving it, which is fine. But if we move our cursor anywhere, it seems to be directing it. Now spacebar is supposed to move it. And as you can see, we are moving in whichever direction we want to. Very, very cool. So next I want to add some sort of way for the ship to shoot. So I just asked it to simply add some sort of shooting mechanic. I said, I need to add some typical shooting mechanic for this game. I want it to be colored red for the laser shot, and I want them to be relatively short. I was thinking about it, I'm like, if I'm going to shoot a laser And if I just hold the button, it's going to be like extended infinitely. I could just do a 360 and wipe everything. It's kind of OP. So you have to make sure that the laser shots are relatively short in length. Each shot is anyways, right? Mind you, I'm sure you can get some power-ups or special abilities down the road if we go that direction. So let's see what's going on here. So I'm going to just copy and paste this right into our file and see what happens. Now I did tell it to use left click for the shooting mechanic, so hopefully left click does it. As you can see, this is our shot right now. Not the best, but you know what? It's actually got to go. It's something, and I think it's going to be, yeah, it's relative to where we are. So I just went back and I said, okay, can you make sure that the lasers always face the same direction as the ship and always come out of the front of the ship image? So we'll see what happens here in terms of return. It definitely be problematic, but you just got to try it a few times and see the output that you get, and eventually you'll get there. So as this is finishing up here, grab it once more, paste it over my file, and see what happens. So as you can see, that's much better. It's now facing the proper direction. We move around, it's going to face the right direction. Now this is great. This is what we want, guys. This is what we need. I'm happy. It's good stuff. We have the ability to move our ship. We have the ability to shoot. Right? But we don't have anything to shoot at. We can't see anything on our thing. We have no asteroids to shoot. Right? We need to find some asteroids. That's kind of the purpose of the game. We also can sail off the screen, which is a bit of an issue. So I asked it to not allow the player to move off of the canvas just to get this part nipped in the butt really quickly. And it said within the game class, it wants me to update the update method. So I'm just going to find the update method. If you look here, it's anytime the brackets end, but you can just follow the line directly down below it. Or you can click this little minus button like we did before and paste it over it. Now, mind you, you're going to have to hit tab because this will have to be lined up with the line there. So if you highlight the whole function and press tab, it'll tab it outwards, and you can see that it's lined up with all these other functions. Just to reference, you want to make sure that this bracket ends on the same spot that this starts, and this starts on the same spot as this. Okay? If that's too confusing for you, once again, another solution is to simply get it to output the entire game class. Can you return the entire game class? Now this will return the entire game class, whereas I don't need to find this this function at all within this class. I can just highlight the entire class and replace it. As so. So that's one method to do it. Okay. Mind you, we don't need to do that. We've already done it. So let's test it out and see what happens. So hopefully we now should not be able to move off of the canvas. As you can see, it's not the smoothest, but it does provide prevention from. All right, so I actually didn't like that. So I just told it. I said as the player leaves one side of the screen, have it re-enter the opposite side, just like Mario. And as you can see, it loops now, which is awesome. It's way better than getting jammed in the middle of space. It just did not make sense at all that there was like barriers. This feels way better. So, anyways, we're gonna go with this route. Okay, so the final step in our project is we need to get some sort of orbs or sort of meteors to shoot at in our game. So for this sake, I went back to bing.create. I'm going to download some sort of tile sheets, once again, space-oriented ones, and I'm going to crop some orbs. I'm going to save them in a folder, and I'm going to collect a few different ones so we have a variety. Okay, so I've collected my 6 orbs. I have them numbered 1 to 6, and that's very, very important. I also have them all the exact same size, so if I click on one and just highlight it, it should show me the dimensions of 120, and just to verify, this one as well is 120. So these are all 120 by 120 pixels in size, and they all have their backgrounds. The other thing that's extremely important with these circles as well, as their size being the same, they are all the exact same file extension, as in they are the same file type. So they all, if we click on properties, they're all going to be PNGs. And if I inspect, properties again here, this is a PNG as well. That is extremely important. They all need to be the same file types. They all need to be numbered, 1 to the next number in order, and they all have to be the same size, okay? Now, note that I have saved them into a separate folder called balls. So when I reference them, I'm not going to reference images, I'm going to reference balls slash and then the image to give it the direction of where the images are located. So next, we're going to jump back to ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how to integrate all these balls at the same time. So we just got over to ChatGPT. I just want to go over a few things that I told it to do that are very, very important. So the first thing that I did was I copied our entire file. I started a brand new chat, entirely new chat this time, or new conversation. You just click this button up here to start a new conversation. So I clicked that. I copied our entire program, including the HTML file, and I gave it to it. And I said, hey, I made a new video game. This is the code, and I'd like to add some features to it. Now, what did I say I wanted to add? I want everything to remain as it is, but I want to add some features to it. I want to add some balls. They should spawn at the edges of the map at random. Use different balls for each time, and select one at random from 6 options. Then I have to tell it where the 6 different options are. Each ball image is located in, this is the most important part. So each ball is located in balls/x.png. Now what I'm saying here, I'm referring to the location of the ball image, but the critical thing that I'm doing here is I'm giving the actual image name a variable, and I'm explaining that this variable is going to be 1 to 6. So it knows that each one of these images is going to be in that same file, and it's going to be 1 to 6 as their naming conventions, as in x, where x is 1 to 6 for each ball. Also display the balls as a specific size, so I told them to display each one as 100 by 100 and have them move at random patterns and towards the center of the canvas. I don't know exactly where I want them to move yet, but towards the center sounds, somewhat standard for now, so let's just do that. Okay. So it didn't output everything. It used some placeholder text, some unchanged stuff. Here, unchanged. I told it to return everything within the document, which it's currently outputting. But it looks like it just finished, so I'm going to grab this file, and we're going to paste it right over our JavaScript game file. And now we should be able to test it and see what happens. So as you can see, we have some balls moving around the... Now, they don't do anything, but they're moving around. It's pretty cool, actually. I think they need to be a little bit smaller. They seem a little big. Okay, let's make them slightly smaller. So I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to say, okay, this looks actually pretty cool, though. This looks great. However, let's have their spawn delayed 5 seconds at the beginning of the game. Also, let's reduce the ball's size from 100 pixels by 100 pixels to 50 by 50 pixels. Let's see what happens here. So I'm just saying, let's delay their initial spawn by 5 seconds, and let's change the size of them by dividing it in half, because currently they're pretty big. And let's return the entire game class. So this is why class. It actually figured it out. It said game class. It's kind of funny. This is why I wanted to structure this as a class, because as our file gets longer, it's going to be really hard for ChatGPT to output all that code. So if we say, output one class at a time, we take that class, we add it to our file, we break it into another class, we add ChatGPT to return us that class, we can build a pretty complex file here. Just one little step at a time. That's the secret. You don't want to do too much at once. Chip away at it slowly and you'll get there. But this is why this tool is amazing, I find anyways. You can save a lot of time. So I want to take, so I think these two commands at the bottom are probably already in our file. So let's just take a peek. I'm not 100% sure on this one. I do need to find this. So if I look down, this might be our last file. Yeah, it is. Shoot, I could have just copied those two as well, but it's not a big deal. So we're going to spawn this and see what happens. So now there's a delay. You can see slight delay. We might actually see in a chance this time. Oh. Okay, they seem to be spawning. Okay, so we need to have it so when the balls get hit by lasers that they explode. So I gave it the file again and I said I want everything to remain as the same, but when the lasers collide with the balls, they should explode. Make a cool particle effect explosion. Have the explosions sometimes randomly do a different particle effect. Right? Have some cool like explosion feature added to it. That would be awesome to have that in our game. Well, one thing you'll notice too is as it gets longer, it will actually ask you to. It'll prompt you, and you'll have to click a continuation thing because it does. And it only allows you to do that once, so there's actually a limitation on how much you can get it to output at one time. But there's a way to work around that. I can show you guys that another time too. So make sure you guys subscribe too if you haven't subscribed yet. I do one of these every Thursday. So if you guys want to see a new interesting game or just join me for a fun time, we're more than welcoming and we're looking for new people to join the community all the time. So please do so. We much appreciate you. Anyways, this thing is just massive file now that we've created. So this is pretty much our entire game. I might actually get to show you here if it doesn't. I don't know. It actually gave us the entire file. Wow, holy crap! That was a huge file, guys. Anyways, I copied the code over, and we're gonna check it out and see what happens. I also told them to spawn off the screen versus just on the screen. I'm kind of nervous. Oh, that looks cool, guys. Oh, that's so cool. You see the explosion? Oh my god, it's like some cool colorfulness. That's neat. Very cool. Very, very cool. And we got infinite balls spawning, guys, and they're spawning off the screen. They don't kill us yet, so yeah, this is pretty awesome. I think we need some points. But we can add many different features to this game now. We just add one little step at a time. We have the basis for a space shooter game. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you guys want to add some more elements like a score tracker, if you want to add some monsters, just follow these simple steps and just do everything I just showed you because you can add as many things to this game as you want. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Once again, please comment, like, and subscribe. These balls are getting out of control. Oh, subscribe. Completely out of control. But yeah, make sure to subscribe because I'm going to do another one of these episodes next weekend or next Thursday, and we don't know what we're going to jump into next Thursday. It could be a new exciting game, could continue this one, who knows? Don't know where life's going to take us, but anyways, hope to see you guys there. And as always, stay safe. Poobearski out.